Turning now to some of the other big questions which have roiled our viewers all week.
I fucking won. I defeated the cancellation. I defeated the blacklisting and the censorship. I'm the #1 political streamer in America. Oh, now they want to talk to me.
It's been a pleasure getting to know you, and I hope you will be there for the rest of my life.
I hope you'll let my friendship be one of the things that you're learning how to let in.
Let me explain something to white people. Our hair comes out of our head naturally in a curly pattern. So when we're straightening it to follow your beauty standards, we are trapped because we're trying to keep our hair straight for y'all.
This is the end of the Trump administration. This is the beginning of the lame duck presidency.
Turning now to some of the other big questions which have roiled our viewers all week. Does everybody need to be educated about black beauty? Michelle Obama says yes. MAGA cheers Nicki Minaj for backing Trump on Nigeria's Christians. Do we care what celebrities think again now? Tom Cruise finally gets an Oscar as either GOAT of movie stars, and after Piggy Gate, is the US president sexist or just rude? More importantly, is he losing the manosphere? Tim Dillon says it's over.
Let's look at Trump here. And I do think, unfortunately, this kind of is the end of, and I say unfortunately, not because I care, truly, but I say unfortunately because it seems to not be doing anything good for anyone. This is the end of the Trump administration. This is the beginning of the lame duck presidency.
Well, joining me to debate all this are Andrew Wilson, host of The Crucible, Isabel Brown, host of the Daily Wire's Isabel Brown Show, the lawyer and commentator Paula Rhone-Adrien, and Brian Shapiro, host of Pushing the Limits. Well, welcome to all of you. A perfect panel to dissect all this stuff. Let's start. Andrew Wilson, is it over for Trump? Has he lost the manosphere, the broligarchy, and is that therefore the tipping point for the beginning of the end?
No, he hasn't lost it. The thing is unless Trump, the main thing Trump needs to focus on is mass migration. That's what people put him in office for. That's what people want to see. They want to see him address that singular issue, especially the younger voters, especially the younger men. Until he does that, he's going to always be slipping in polls with them, and he's going to be slipping in polls with his base, period. That's what he's there to do. So Tim Dillon's point that he's making here, he says, look, he's losing support for younger men. That is true. He does need to address the mass migration issue. That's the issue of the time, and that's what people put him there for.
Yeah, Brian Shapiro, I mean, on immigration, many would say that what he's done on the southern border has been a big success. They would agree broadly with the principle of deporting undocumented people in the United States who commit other crimes, separate to their visa status. Where the big flashpoint has been over just rounding up people who are undocumented and either threatening or deporting them. But, you know, I would say his base have been quite happy largely with what he's done there. One of the big things that's become a stick to beat him with is this whole issue of transparency, be it on the Epstein files, be it on, you know, the JFK files, be it on the murder of Charlie Kirk, you know, all these things. There's become a sort of running saw of a lot of MAGA people saying we're not getting the full transparency we were sure we get on all this stuff. How damaging has that been, do you think?
I think it's extremely damaging, Piers. The idea that this is the most transparent president and administration in years is absolutely absurd. They campaigned on it. Donald Trump and so many of his supporters released the Epstein files. We saw what they did with Jack Posobiec and so many other Trump supporters out there in D.C. with the binders. We know what Pam Bondi said. Now, every single time a reporter asks him about it, he attacks them or their Miss Piggy. He's unraveling by the day. We all know why Donald Trump doesn't want anybody talking about the Epstein files. We know why. Because he's all over them and he has something to hide. The entire administration has been hiding this for him. Pam Bondi, including Kash Patel, who was asked under oath 7 times, did you tell Pam Bondi that Trump is in the Epstein files? Couldn't even answer the question. So the idea that this administration is transparent is like saying that the earth is flat, Piers.
All right, Isabel, I saw you putting expressions that suggest you didn't entirely agree with that thesis. So your response?
Well, of course, transparency should be important to every American of every background, and we should be fighting for that in any presidential administration. Those of us who have been paying attention for years, Piers, were asking where the heck is the president of the United States at 2:00 p.m. every day under the Biden admin, when seemingly he went to the residence to take a nap and called a lid on the media almost every single day in the press briefing room. So regardless of where you fall in the political spectrum, it's something important to fight for. But the suggestion that President Trump is somehow unraveling before our very eyes, I think is really shallow and very silly. What's interesting to me is people are noting a dip in an approval rating among the Trump administration, specifically zooming in on young people. And from my perspective, I think we're really missing the mark on why that dip in approval rating is happening. It's not because young people are abandoning the cause of MAGA or being America first or suddenly jumping ship to embrace the Zohran Mamdanis and radical socialists of the world. Rather, I would argue, I think young people are frustrated because the administration hasn't yet been conservative enough with the expectation of governance on offense that young people resoundingly voted returning President Trump to the Oval Office. People are looking for an immigration moratorium, giving H-1B visa job opportunities to American citizens. We're looking for more mass deportations. We're looking for the ability to buy a home so that we can revive the American family again. And we are seeing the baby steps to get there start happening at the White House, but we're looking for a full court press ahead, not just baby steps.
And Paula, before I come to you,
she's right.
I just want to ask,
about
well, Andrew, I just want to ask Andrew specifically, actually, about Nick Fuentes' role in all this, because he is gathering a lot of momentum, indisputably, capitalizing on all this. How significant is he in this ongoing debate?
I mean, he's really significant, and that's the truth. And I'll point something out that is also true. TPUSA moved a lot more towards the positions of Nick Fuentes than Nick Fuentes moved towards the positions of TPUSA, and that's a fact. That's an uncontroversial fact at this point. Now, do I agree with everything that Nick says? No, I don't need to. He doesn't agree with everything I say either. But he is right about this. Until this administration addresses mass migration, the issue of our time, and the issue of the people in the UK, their time as well, he's going to continue to be more unpopular and move down in the polls. It's not about transparency or the Epstein files. She's absolutely right. It's about conservative issues. And we need to see Trump take a more conservative approach to the things that we want. That's what we want.
Okay, Paula, thank you for your patience. Welcome back to Uncensored. This whole thing about immigration has been raging now as a debate in America, in the United Kingdom, across Europe. Clearly, there are a lot of issues about the way governments around the world have handled the issue of immigration, particularly mass migration of millions and millions of people across the continent of Europe, never mind anything else. It's been nearly 10 million people have come across in the last few years. And we had 10 million people entering the US illegally in the Biden administration. And that may be a conservative estimate. These things are causing a lot of anger amongst people who are in countries legally, who do all the paperwork. I've repeated this many times, but it's worth mentioning again. For me to own a home in America and to work there, I go through a very laborious process every 3 years or so to renew my visa, to do it all above board, to be completely legal, as do millions of other people. And, I'm not an American, but I quite resent people just popping over the border illegally when they fancy it. Because I think, well, they're not paying, they're not going through this laborious process. Why are they getting away with this? So I do think that there is more that can be done. It's just a question of how much more and how you do it. The UK policies under successive governments have been utterly useless. We've got 50, 60,000 people just coming over on these small boats from France with complete impunity.
35,000, I think, Piers, was the last count.
For this year?
Yeah.
What will it be by the end of the year?
Well, we're a month to go.
Right, but I think it's a new record. Right, this is from Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister promised to smash the gangs.
I just think we need to be careful, though. This is exactly the point, isn't it? That we need to be careful when we're talking about figures. What we're actually talking about is human beings. We're talking about lives. We're talking about people who have lost their lives because they are seeking a better life and because
hang on.
Opportunity.
We found out. Paul,
let's not conflate the two. Let's not conflate the two.
You are conflating two
refugee
things.
and asylum seekers with those who are seeking to make a better life for themselves, and the opportunity for them to do that is either limited or severely restricted.
What about those who are simply gaming the system? there was a purge, for example, specifically with people coming into Britain illegally from Albania. Turned out 15,000 Albanians in 1 year were just coming over, who were young, perfectly fit, healthy people, male predominantly, who wanted to get a better economic life for themselves. They're not asylum seekers. They're not refugees. They're people who live in Albania who just want to come and try their luck in the UK. I don't blame them for trying, but a system that just allows 15,000 to come in as we did in that way, and we had a word with the Albanian government, did a deal, and suddenly it was stopped. But it should never have been happening to start with. Every so often, there's a piece of cinematic entertainment that just feels bigger and bigger. Not another Hollywood reboot, but an epic story of courage, faith, and meaning. The Daily Wire has gone all out with this new 7-part series, The Pendragon Cycle, Rise of the Merlin. It's based on a book series by Stephen R. Lawhead, and it's a retelling of the classic King Arthur legend. The first official trailer just dropped. You should go and check it out. In this extraordinary world, pagan gods fall silent and empires collapse, but one man's vision ignites a civilization's rebirth. Merlin becomes the bridge between myth and history, shaping the destiny of kings. What's not to like? The Pendragon Cycle, Rise of the Merlin, premieres exclusively on Daily Wire Plus on January the 22nd. Watch the full trailer now at dailywire.com.
I'm intrigued that you don't blame them for trying, because of course you understand what it is to have ambition.
No, I don't blame people.
So,
Paula,
you know,
I don't blame people for
I'm
trying
grateful
to get...
that you said that.
Let me be clear. Let me be clear. Hang on. Let me be clear. I don't blame anyone for trying their luck. Right? The world is full of people that do that. But
multi-millionaires and billionaires who try their luck.
But as Ronald Reagan so rightly put it, if you don't have a border, you don't have a country. Right? And that is obviously true. And the way that we in the UK have tried to manage our border has been ridiculous. I mean, there's a great irony today that new figures came out about legal immigration numbers, which are now falling quite precipitously in the UK from a net migration in 2023 of nearly 1 million people in a country of just under 70 million. So a vast number of people coming in with the government's endorsement, who were coming in legally, mainly people we wanted to come in, bringing in all sorts of dependents. So nearly 1 million people in 1 year, obviously completely unsustainable on already creaking public services. And what's happened in the last year, since the Labour government came into power? I think nearly 500,000 people have left the country, right? They've just said, we're out of here, because this is no longer an attractive place to live.
Who has made...
So in a way, the immigration issue is being resolved by people literally fleeing Britain to avoid the calamitous state of the country right now.
Who has made those people feel so unwelcome?
And don't forget that the people in the UK keep voting against this. They keep voting against
this.
They keep voting against mass migration, and they keep being ignored. And they've been voting against it, for 30, 40 years. And
because
they just
they've been
keep
sold
being
a lie.
ignored.
They've been sold a lie about mass immigration, because you can go on our government website. You can go on our government website now, the .gov website now, and you will see the very long list of empty jobs that are desperately required to be filled. So we can talk about jobs from our construction industry,
Lady, they call it Londinistan.
to our care industry, to our medical industry, to vets.
What are you talking? What? They call it Londinistan. People are so angry there.
Who calls it that?
It's a boiling pot.
Who calls it that?
Hang on.
Who calls it that?
It's a boiling pot.
Who calls it that?
And the thing is, it's like, it can be totally avoided. It can be totally avoided if you follow the actual will. Hang on. If you followed your actual will of your own people who consistently vote against this stuff. And you guys use every back door in the world to ignore them anyway, even though your own people are like, we don't want it anymore. They've consistently voted against it, and the UK government consistently betrays them.
I don't know who calls it that name, and I don't know who you're referencing when you say your people.
You've never heard that, huh?
But what I do understand is that we have been consistently misled about the importance of immigration, about why we need people to come to this country and to your great nation to work. We see that in your farmers, for example, who are struggling to get their crops in, who are losing money over and over and over because they do not have the workforce to replace it with those that have lost. And when we talk about, Piers, the people who have departed from this great nation, why is it Well, it's the same thing that we saw with Brexit, wasn't it? When we saw the great Polish workers and the Romanians, etc., leaving in droves because they were chased away by the blatant racism, the outrageous behaviour that they were receiving.
We can address the point. Like, you just said a bunch of stuff that wasn't true. What actually happens is not that we need more illegal immigrants, especially here in the United States. What happens with these farmers is they get massive subsidies. The will of the people is that we don't want mass migration, and a country is made up of its people. Our people don't want mass migration. The people in the UK don't want mass migration, and my GDP argument is not going to help you with that. You understand?
Every country,
there's more important things than second-class slave laborers to fill your pockets.
Of mass migration.
They don't want mass migration.
Every country has grown great from mass migration.
Paula,
to deny that is misleading society.
It's not misleading.
We continue to need mass migration to grow our economy. It's a very basic fact.
It is not misleading to say we have let too many people come into Britain, both illegally and legally, in the last few years. You would agree with that?
I accept that there is regular immigration and irregular immigration. I do not accept that human beings are illegal.
All right, I agree with you about Brexit. I voted against Brexit. My worst fears are being materialised. And you talk to any hotelier, restaurateur in any of the major cities, they can't get the staff anymore because they've all disappeared, right? And that's been a real problem of that. But there's another issue, which actually we can discuss as a group, I think, here, which is if you look at the numbers of people who are out of work on benefits, in other words, the state is paying for them, a very large number now in the UK, it's like 5 million in total, over 1 million of those are off work with anxiety. When did we as a society, Paula, allow millions of people to simply say, I'm feeling a bit anxious, I can't go to work, the state has to pay me? This is ridiculous.
Well, I don't recognise what you've just said.
I just told you.
I don't recognise what you've just said as what is happening.
You sound like a politician.
I appreciate...
You're not denying the facts, surely.
Well, what I understand is that to get signed off sick from work, you need to go and see your GP. So what you're suggesting to me is that a professional is now complicit in defrauding...
I'm saying it's a load of old baloney.
But that's what you're saying.
I'm saying it's a load of old baloney.
Is complicit in defrauding our benefit system.
Well, I'm not suggesting that. I'm saying a lot of people are
pulling... So that means that the people who have been signed off work sick have been signed off work sick because they are sick.
And let me tell you, Paula, it's a load of old flannel, and you know it, right? Anyway, let's get back to the bigger picture of Trump here. Isabel, Donald Trump came in with a very clear mandate to do a number of clear things. From your perspective, how many of those things is he getting right? And where do you think the peril is for Trump?
Yeah, I want to come back to that in a second, Piers, because I just have to say, as an American watching this, and we try to lend our platform on my show and the Daily Wire to amplify the British plight right now that is happening with the complete invasion of your country and the destruction of British culture.
But by whom? Sorry, who are we being invaded by? I'm an immigrant. Are you suggesting that I've invaded Britain?
If you are immigrating to a country appropriately and assimilating to that country's culture, more than welcome with open arms. But what we're watching in the UK right now is not immigration. It is immigration without assimilation, which is by its very nature invasion. We are watching the destruction of British culture to the point that Christian singers on the street are being told it is illegal for them to sing Christian gospel music while you can play the Muslim call to prayer 5 times a day in the street.
Can you just identify to me what you understand British culture to be so that I can then respond appropriately? Because I don't understand that British culture is in any way being diminished by immigration.
Called a radical extremist. People are being called racist and xenophobic for flying the Union Jack in their homes or out on city streets. People are being thrown
not in their homes. They're not. I'm not aware of that in their homes. But are you saying that it's a part of British culture, that that's what you're saying has been under threat to raise the flag within our homes? Because that's not something I recognise.
In order to identify the problem here, British citizens are being thrown in prison for years and years and years for retweeting concerns about their inability to seek a job in the workforce being taken over by someone who just showed up 5 minutes ago, or their taxpayers taxpayer dollars being used to pay for social services for those who are not legitimately seeking asylum or refugee status. We are watching the United Kingdom crumble before our very eyes.
Well, I would say, all right, hang on. Let me put up a little hand for my country here. I'm in my country. I don't know, when were you last here, Isabel?
I was last there last year. I was there in Scotland.
Okay. And did you feel in fear of your life everywhere you went from this invasion or not? Holiday season is here. I'm probably not alone in wondering if I'm being ripped off when I'm buying gifts online. I always suspect there's cheaper alternatives, but let's be honest, who's got the time to check? Well, Jibe.com can do it for you. Millions are saving 60 to 80% on everything from fashion to gadgets. Just type Jibe.com before any product URL and it will pull up affordable alternatives as if by magic. No dodgy knockoffs, just the same stuff without a massive markup. It's free to use, and Jibe, DUPE, is giving away 1 million Jibe points for you to shop, save, and turn points into gift cards. For a limited time, the first 10,000 people who go to Jibe.com/Piers will get 500 Jibe points instantly, redeemable for gift cards, but with no catch. But the spots are limited, so don't wait. That's Jibe.com/Piers for 500 free Jibe points today. Use your Jibe points and gift cards to make the most of your holiday shopping. Go to Jibe.com/Piers.
Apparently not, but I was there the same week that they started throwing people in prison for Facebook comments.
There are issues in the United Kingdom, in Britain. There are issues about free speech, proper issues, right? People have been imprisoned for stuff they put on Facebook. I don't like it. I don't like seeing Graham Linehan being arrested at the airport by armed policemen for jokes he put on X a few months before. All that stuff is ridiculous. I don't like the fact that seemingly a quarter of all the people now on benefits in this country are people suffering from anxiety. We've become a soft, weak country, and we're enabling people to play that card to avoid putting in a hard day's work, and they're getting paid by us to sit at home. I don't like any of that, right? I do think there are some issues on the immigration thing which are serious. The small boat scandal, which it is, the tens of thousands of people just coming in on boats all the time, especially when the weather's good, is terrible and has to stop. We lost the plot completely with legal migration, allowing way too many dependents to come in. Our public services simply can't cope with the avalanche of people that were coming. However, the idea that we're living in some kind of Islamist state now and that nobody can walk the streets of London without fearing for their life is massively exaggerated. So I do think this is good. And it's been whipped up a lot in America, I have to say, where I say to my American friends, you really need to come to London and you need to sort of walk around. I mean, just walk around. Trust me, I was in New York recently, LA, I was in Miami. I don't feel any more fear in London than I do in any of those cities. So we've got to get perspective here. However, there are fundamental points about things like free speech, about control of migration, which there are legitimate concerns being raised by legitimate people who actually are right. These things have to be dealt with, and they're not being dealt with.
Absolutely. And I think often our media tends to exaggerate some things as well, Piers. I was in New York 2 weeks ago and had a lovely experience. And I think the fear certainly is reaching an all new time high in old media, which is why new media like this matters so much. But when I see an imam from San Diego, for example, take a trip to Birmingham in the UK and proudly proclaim on the international stage, the UK will become a Muslim country. America will become a Muslim country.
But why would you give that any thought whatsoever? Why would you give that any credence? So if I came to your beautiful nation tomorrow and stood on your street and said, with my fist held high, this is it, I am now going to conquer America. Honestly, you would take me seriously and see me as a threat. Of course you wouldn't. So why are you taking this individual as somehow gospel and that they must be listened to?
All right, look,
it's feeding into a fear that doesn't exist.
Okay, I'm actually... sorry, Brian, you want to say something? Yeah.
I'm sorry, Pierre. I was just going to say it's interesting that she didn't answer the original question, which was, do you feel Donald Trump has fulfilled his promises? I didn't get an answer from her on that. And I just want to, if I can respond to that real quickly, is the war over in 24 hours? I'm just curious, have prices been plummeting or has inflation been up for the last 5 months? How have those jobs reports been? I'm just wondering, I'm just curious, is there peace in the Middle East? Remember when he said there was peace a few weeks ago and we had a ceasefire deal? I mean, the only promise he really kept was he was going to, pardon a bunch of January 6th insurrectionists, some of whom beat police officers with their own batons. Some of them are back in jail. So I noticed she didn't answer that question. The bottom line is he hasn't fulfilled almost any of his promises. And when things go bad, he insults reporters. When things go bad, he blames Joe Biden. He blames Pete Buttigieg. He blames Barack Obama. He blames George Soros. That's what.
Well, on that point about him insulting reporters, his sort of ongoing battle with the media rages on. I want to play a comment where he actually called a female reporter Piggy. Let's take a listen to this.
There's nothing incriminating in the file, Venezuela, sir.
Brian, what did you feel when you watched that?
I'm absolutely repulsed by that. First of all, he's the president of the United States. To call somebody Miss Piggy, he's supposed to be a leader. He is supposed to lead the way and, in a sense, be a role model to many out there and be professional. You're the president. It's beneath the presidency. Every single time somebody asks Donald Trump a question that he doesn't want to answer, for example, the Epstein files, he asked, who are you with? Where are you from? You're fake news. And then he attacks them and threatens them.
Well, let's take a look at that clip too, because the two go hand in hand in a way. Another female journalist. Let's take a look at that clip from the Oval Office.
It's not the question that I mind, it's your attitude. I think you are a terrible reporter. It's the way you ask these questions. You start off with a man who's highly respected, asking him a horrible, insubordinate, and just a terrible question. And you could even ask that same exact question nicely. You're all psyched up. Somebody psychs you over at ABC. You're going to psych it. You're a terrible person and a terrible reporter. As far as the Epstein files is, I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert. But I guess I turned out to be right.
Now, the White House released a statement saying about the Piggy comment. This reporter behaved in an inappropriate, unprofessional way towards their colleagues on the plane. If you're going to give it, you have to better take it. One of the theories behind that statement being that the reason he called her Piggy was she was asking too many questions and was being a greedy pig. He didn't actually say Miss Piggy. Brian, your response to that rationale?
Let me respond to that first, and then the last clip you just played. First of all, even if that was true, which I don't think it was, a president would say, hey, I want to give other people a chance to ask questions, or I have no comment on that.
But Donald Trump's never going to do that. That's not why he got elected.
Because he's repulsive. That's why. Now, going back to that clip that you just played, that reporter asked two very good questions. The Saudi prince was sitting right next to Donald Trump. Our own FBI concluded in an investigation that he was responsible for the murder of an innocent journalist. That's a good question. The second good question she asked, respectfully, by the way, why won't you just release the Epstein files today? Why do you need all these Republicans' approval on it? She asked it respectfully, and even if she was disrespectful, if you don't want to answer the question, then just say, next question. Can you imagine if, I'm going to tell you something, if Joe Biden or Barack Obama called reporters Miss Piggy, or if Barack Obama or Joe Biden, or quite frankly, any Democrat answered a question in that fashion, I'd be calling them out as well. But MAGA Republicans, so many of them don't seem to have any problem with that. It's beneath the presidency.
Okay.
He proves it every single day.
Let me ask Andrew what your thought is of the Piggy comment in particular.
Yeah, who cares? These people call him a fascist. They call him a rapist. They say that he tried to screw his own daughter. They call him every name under the sun. And suddenly, oh, it's beneath him. You know, it's beneath. It's beneath the president. I bet you if I went back and looked at this guy's content, he's probably called him a fascist. He's probably called him a dictator. He's probably said that he's a rapist. He's probably said all of these things. And so the thing is like, hang on, man. I didn't interrupt you once. Hey, I didn't interrupt you once. It's beneath your station to interrupt me. It's beneath your station to interrupt me, sir. It's beneath your station. So the thing is like,
things about me that aren't true.
Can I calm down? Can I at least finish and then you can rebut? So the thing is that They call him everything under the sun, and this guy says one thing crash to anybody, and everybody loses their mind. It's like, these are not good faith actors at all. This guy knows, even if he specifically hasn't, his entire party has been calling this guy a fascist and everything else, and a totalitarian dictator, and saying that he's a rapist, saying that he's a multiple felon, and they do all of this and run these hit pieces on Trump. So, of course, occasionally he gets upset and he says something back, and then suddenly it's like, oh, it's beneath your office. It's not beneath the office of any of these newspapers to consistently bash this guy 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
All right, Paula, your response.
I'm slightly confused. Your president is a convicted felon. Am I right about that?
34 counts.
And secondly, he was found to have, and I don't want to get this wrong, so Piers, I'm sure you correct me, sexually assaulted a journalist. Was it E.J. Carroll? Again, forgive me if I've got... Yes, thank you. And she won damages for millions and millions of dollars.
In a civil case.
In a civil case, that's right. So a finding was made by 12 of his peers.
Right, but the criminal conviction... Yeah, but Paula, the criminal conviction, just to be clear... Well, just to be clear, on the criminal conviction, for example, I do think that was an utter farce. Today's show is sponsored by OneSkin, which can help all of us look even younger. OneSkin is redefining skincare with cult favourites like OS1 Body, Face and Eye, built around their patented OS1 peptide, which is clinically proven to target senescent cells, a key driver of skin ageing. Backed by 5 clinical studies, OneSkin products improve skin texture, firmness and elasticity over time. They have more than 10,000 5-star reviews, born from over 10 years of longevity research. OneSkin's OS1 peptide is proven to target the cells that cause the visible signs of aging, helping you unlock your healthier skin and hair now and as you age. For a limited time, try OneSkin with 15% off using code PIERS, that's P-I-E-R-S, at oneskin.co. That's 15% off oneskin.co with code PIERS. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them, so please support our show and tell them that we sent you. They dragged a former president through a criminal court for shuffling a bit of paperwork to potentially hide something he says didn't happen, but hide an alleged one-night stand with a porn star 20 years before. That was demeaning to the American system.
If you want to dismiss
they did that.
the American criminal justice system, that's a matter for you. I'm just responding to what your...
Can I just respond real quickly to what he said, if that's okay, Piers?
Sure.
First of all, I don't represent the Democrat Party. You have no idea what you're talking about. I'm not even a Democrat. Number two, I've never called Donald Trump a fascist. I don't like the word Nazi. I don't use that as well. Number three, Donald Trump called Kamala Harris a fascist multiple times on the campaign trail. I didn't hear you complaining about that. Number four, I don't know which people you're referring to, but the buck stops with the guy who's the president of the United States. Now, I'm not saying this is World War III when he calls somebody Miss Piggy. What I am saying is it's beneath the presidency. And you make all these excuses and you curl up into your MAGA pretzel like you MAGA supporters always do. Why can't you just say, hey, guess what? He probably shouldn't have responded that way. It's wrong. This isn't the first time either.
Let me answer your question. Yeah, sure. I'll answer your question because I think it's good. I think it's good that this guy rips these reporters to shreds. I think it's good that he pushes back a little bit in culture. And the reason that he was elected was, hang on. Do you want me to answer the question or not? The reason that he pushes back is because that's what we have him there to do. He's designed to push back against the culture, against the lying mainstream media, who has been lying nonstop since COVID-19. And the thing is we know that now, don't we? Because we know for sure that there was all sorts of political pressure put on by the Biden campaign to remove stories that they didn't like about C-19 and things like this. We know for sure that, and that's what this guy is there for. He's there literally to push back against the mainstream narrative.
Excuse me for interrupting you both.
I'm almost done, dude. I'm almost done. Calm down.
But excuse me for interrupting you both. What I'm trying to understand from this...
You can't help yourself.
It's
beneath your office to do this. It's beneath your office to interrupt me.
Forgive me for interrupting you both, but what I'm trying to understand, and I think has been raised, is you can push back. No one's saying that you can't push back, but push back with an answer. Answer the question. That's your pushback, surely. And without an answer to the question,
you're wanting, Paula, you're wanting Donald Trump to behave like a conventional president.
He did push back with an answer.
The one thing we know about Donald Trump is
I threw him out of a club.
Well, Donald Trump
That's what he said. He gave an answer.
He did.
So,
and the truth about Trump is he's never going to be presidential. That's why he gets elected. precisely because he's not like every other president. People may not like it. He's a trash-talking New Yorker who gives it back with bells on when he gets it. And I do think, Andrew, I don't defend the Piggy thing. I think he shouldn't have said that. I don't like the way sometimes he talks to the women in particular. However, it is entirely true that Trump has been subjected to the most vicious, sustained abuse of any president in history by the mainstream media, who have with impunity called him a Nazi and a fascist and so on. And I'm sorry, that's a little bit worse than calling somebody Piggy for asking too many questions.
Okay, but the reporter didn't say that, Piers. If somebody in the press called him a Nazi, then that would be grounds for taking your credential away. I agree. But that's not what the reporter did here. And I keep hearing these excuses from Andrew all over again, blaming the left. Well, it's the media. And no, listen, I don't want to, maybe I'm different than Andrew, I guess. I don't want a president put there to call people second-grade insult names. A president is put there to lead the country, to help us with the economy. Yes, maybe to end wars and to help the American people, not take food stamps away from people, not take Medicaid coverage away from people, and not to make people laugh or talk about injecting yourself with disinfectant. That's not why we put
let me ask Isabel, if I may. Isabel, your response to that.
On that note, it was brought up, could you imagine if Joe Biden would have ever said something like this? Let's not forget, Joe Biden said to the face of a voter, one of his constituents, in December of 2019, he called him fat. Look, fat. And he was upset with a question that he was receiving as the sitting president of the United States. So again, we play this game all the time of breaking news, Donald Trump is being Trump, but we refuse to acknowledge the ridiculous double standards that exist in American politics. And we pull the wool over our eyes when we have seen for the last decade in American history, virtually every single legacy media outlet call Trump a Nazi, a Hitler apologist, a radical right-wing fascist, someone who's going to literally start World War III, every single name under the sun, with the clear objective to villainize him and villainize anyone who has ever supported him. It is that type of villainization, for the record, that led to the radical...
Okay, and let me ask you, Isabel, I want to change to a couple of other fun stories of the week. But first, before I go to Paula, I want to ask you, how long has it taken you to prepare aesthetically for this panel? Hair, makeup, so on.
About 5 minutes, probably, Piers.
Paula, how long has it taken you?
About that time, because makeup's amazing here.
Right, so there's no disparity here between the white member of the panel, female, and the black member of the panel, female. We can agree on that. Same amount of time, right? There's a reason I'm asking. Let's play a clip from Michelle Obama this week.
Let me explain something to white people. Our hair comes out of our head naturally in a curly pattern. So when we're straightening it to follow your beauty standards, we are trapped by the straightness. That's why so many of us can't swim and we run away from the water. People won't go to the gym because we're trying to keep our hair straight for y'all.
Last time, Paula, I went swimming in the sea, for example, there were a lot of black women in the sea. Last time I went to the gym, there were a few black women in the gym. This is all baloney. And she's on this weird little victim tour, Michelle Obama.
God.
I think 2 weeks ago was about how she couldn't afford to have a team at the White House. Literally, her and Barack Obama are two of the richest people in America. Now it's like the terrible agonies of living up to white. Do me a favour. She doesn't actually believe that, does she?
Of course she believes it, and it is a reality. And I'm intrigued that you're actually upset about this, as opposed to going, oh, OK, is that what it's really like? So, yes, I have lost jobs because of my hair. I was even told by other black women, maybe you should straighten your hair, Paula.
Why? What job?
I'm a barrister. And I have lost roles.
You lost a legal case because
I
of your
didn't lose a case.
Hair?
I didn't lose a case. I'm saying I've lost roles. I've lost jobs.
What role?
Because of my because of my hair. I've written all about it. It's in various articles.
Well, give me a little.
So I was told, for example, that hair like this, I didn't look like a barrister. I didn't look like what the clients would want. So I should straighten it. I would fit in more if I straightened my hair. When I got my hair braided, I was told that it looked messy, and that I should straighten it and just keep it tied back in a bun. I was told that relentlessly. And as I say, I was actually told that not only by white women, but also by black women, because we feel as if, and this is this kind of subconscious message that we're fed from a very early age, that to look perfect is to look like a white version of yourself.
Honestly, all right, Andrew, I'm going to bring you in here. I don't buy this.
Come on, men, you tell me that I'm wrong.
Understand.
I can't wait to hear this.
Somebody as successful as Michelle Obama on the global stage had one of the biggest selling books of all time.
Yeah.
But it's not a weakness. It's not a weakness, Piers, that she's evidencing there. It's not a weakness.
It's a false playing of the victim card.
Why is she playing a victim card?
Because she's saying all this pressure to conform to look like white women. No, she doesn't.
But there was a pressure. I'm telling you that my own anecdotal
Do you really believe
experience...
Michelle Obama doesn't go swimming because of her hair? I don't believe it.
She didn't say she didn't go swimming. I understood that there were occasions where she didn't go. There's definitely been occasions...
Andrew Wilson has
definitely been occasions where I haven't
Andrew
wanted
Wilson
to
may
get
have
my hair
actually
wet.
just self-immolated in fury about this. So we've lost him very temporarily. Well, let me ask Isabel, you're a white woman. Do you think that black women you know are intimidated by how you look, your hair, your makeup and so on, to the degree that they want to conform to look like Isabel Brown?
No, I don't, Piers. And in fact, I think beauty standards have changed so substantially over the past few years that in many ways the script has been flipped in America.
How many years? How many years, Isabel, would you say that this script has been flipped? Just out of interest.
Not the course of my lifetime. I'm 28 years old, and I certainly don't see any sort of institutionalized conversation happening in America today. Truly, if you have lost a job because your hair was traditionally considered quote unquote black hair, my heart goes out to you. But I don't think that this is a larger institutional problem to tell women, hey, just make sure.
But you have acts that have now been passed federally across your great nation, don't you? Crown Acts, I believe that they're called, where you are there specifically, legally protecting women of colour who want to wear their hair naturally in the workplace. That's right.
Sure. So if you want to wear your hair naturally, by all means do
but
it.
You've needed a law to be passed to ensure that their employees protect
Paula,
it.
you post a lot of extremely impressive videos of your workout routines in gymnasiums. So clearly, this terrible pressure you're feeling does not extend to going to the gym. Because you go to the gym,
I'm 51,
you're very fit,
Piers, and like
the videos
Michelle,
are great. I don't see anyone feeling cowed by a need to do it like a white woman.
Piers, I'm 51. I don't care anymore what you think about my hair or what the world thinks about my hair. That's why I can look like this. And that takes time. So when I was growing up, Isabel, and you may be able to understand this, there were no magazines where there were people who looked like me in them. You know, there was no magazines where I could reference what was the best hair product used in my hair.
But that's not the case now, Paula.
That has changed. Absolutely, Piers, that has changed. But you're suggesting that what Michelle is saying is somehow wrong and that she's feeding into some kind of victimhood. It's a reality, Piers.
No, it's not.
It's a reality.
It's what I call...
And if you want to spend the afternoon in a hair afro salon with me, then you're welcome
I call it rich virtue signalling woman of either colour narrative. It's just, I'm not buying it. It's like when famous white female Hollywood stars start whining about their terrible life. It's like, shut up. It's fine. Michelle Obama is one of the most privileged people in America. Nothing has held her back. Certainly not her hair.
Do you know how many times I have men who come up to me? Just come up to me. Isabel, I don't know if it's something that you've ever suffered with. Men will just come up to me and we will be putting their hand in my hair and at the same time saying to me, can I touch your hair? And it's white men who do that to me.
Have I ever done that to you?
You haven't, but I would say yes.
You know why? Because I'm an old-fashioned gentleman. Brian, you'll be relieved to hear I'm not going to talk to you about the intricacies of women's hair. However, I do want to talk about one of the most fascinating stories of the week, which is the Olivia Nuzzi scandal. She, of course, was a top New Yorker journalist. She got embroiled in a scandal involving R.F. Kennedy because they were alleged to have had an affair. It led to her splitting up with her partner, Ryan Lizzer, another top journalist in America. She's now released a memoir about her affair called American Canto without ever actually referring to him by name, is the understanding. It included this extract that's got a lot of attention. Like all men, but more so, he was a hunter. In a literal sense, he used not a bullet, but a bird. It wasn't about a chase, but about a puzzle of logic and skill that amounted to a test of his self-mastery. He was the mouse and the architect of his maze. the giver of his own pleasure and torment. He desired desiring, he desired being desired, he desired desire itself. I understood this just as I came to understand the range of his kinks and complexes and how they fit within what I thought I understand of his soul. I mean, this is heavy-duty stuff. Ryan Lizard responded by saying that she had a previous relationship, sexual relationship, with a US politician, and she hasn't responded to that yet, and there's more coming from Ryan Lizard. American media is agog with all this. Do you care?
Well, the reason why I don't care too much about this is because we know who Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is, right? We know who he is. We know his past. We know the cheating and the lying and his ex-wife who sadly committed suicide in the diary. So I believe her. But I think coming out there and doing this memoir is a little maybe distasteful. I guess that's the word that I would use to describe it. Do I care? Well, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is in a pretty powerful position under the Trump administration, so a part of me cares a little bit, but I already know who Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is. It'd kind of be like if 20 women put out memoirs about how they claim Donald Trump sexually abused them. I would care, but I would say, well, it doesn't surprise me because look at all the women that have already come forward. I feel the same way about this story and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I think he's a despicable human being. He's never been faithful, my understanding, to most women he's been with in his life. And unfortunately, he's in a position in the White House that he shouldn't be in with no medical credentials at all. So, yeah, to answer your question, Piers, I do care a little bit. I'm not surprised about this. I think maybe it's a little bit distasteful to put this stuff out there when we already know who the man is.
Okay, changing gears again. Isabel, Tom Cruise has finally got an Oscar, an honorary Oscar. Let's take a little listen to what he said.
So cinema, it takes me around the world. And it helps me to appreciate and respect differences. It shows me also our shared humanity, how alike we are in so many ways. And no matter where we come from, in that theater, we laugh together, we feel together.
You know, there's a moment, Isabel, when he said, can everyone who's ever worked with me stand up in the room? And literally like half the room stood up. And it just made me think, why has Tom Cruise never won an Oscar before? Is he not possibly now, pound for pound, the greatest movie star of them all? Not actor, but movie star. I mean, he's still doing it. Top Gun Maverick is one of the great sequels ever made. He's doing it in his 60s. The idea he's never won an Oscar or never received the GOAT status for being a movie star, I think is a travesty. Your thoughts?
You know, there's a whole lot I wish I could explain about Hollywood, Piers. There are literally infinity examples of things that don't make sense to me in the upside down of Hollywood. But I actually really appreciate what he's saying there, too. Real art does have the capacity to share our differences in culture, to expose people to the beautiful tapestry that is humanity. I think that's why young people are struggling so much with this multiculturalism, globalism thing, because we're just diluting all of those beautiful cultures. And I'm hopeful to see art continue to highlight the beauty that is humanity all over the globe, whether that's in a Tom Cruise movie or anything else as well.
Paula, should he be getting more recognition for his movie GOAT status?
I mean, he's pretty cool, right? As you say, he's in his 60s and he's still thrown himself out of
does a lot of his own stunts,
etc. I still don't get Vanilla Sky. Like, I'm sorry, I still don't get it.
That was a total turkey.
Really
total turkey.
But
Piers, I don't think he deserves it. I'm going to be honest with
really?
you. Yeah, well, listen, I love a lot of his movies, but I don't consider him one of the greatest actors of our generation.
No, I said movie star, deliberately.
Okay, so do you think a movie star deserves an Oscar just because they're a movie star? I think someone deserves an Oscar because they're a great actor.
Actually, sometimes, yeah. I do think, like, for Top Gun Maverick, I felt that was such a brilliant film, grossed over $1 billion. He was great in it. And he's a very good actor. But I do think Hollywood should sometimes embrace being a movie star and what that does. He's almost single-handedly saved Hollywood post the pandemic.
Piers, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, Piers, but when I hear the word Oscar, I don't think, wow, movie star. I think great performance, great actor. And listen, he's had a lot of great performances. I agree with you. He's a good actor. I like his movies. I think he's a good guy. But when I think of the word Oscar, I think people like Robert De Niro, those types. I mean, people that have been doing this for a long time, like Tom Cruise. But I think of
You'd have to say De Niro of 35 to 40 years ago. Nothing since then.
Perhaps. So what movie do you think he deserves an Oscar for?
Who? Tom Cruise?
Yeah. What movie do you think it was an Oscar-level performance?
Born on the 4th of July.
Good movie. Good performance.
He was great in that.
Yeah. I just want Oscars for actual performances.
Yeah, well, there's one. There's one.
Yeah, but he didn't win one for that performance.
No.
That's the
My point is, it's ridiculous. He's never won one. I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis is a great actor, but he's won it 3 times Best Actor. Come on.
I think he's a much better actor. Daniel Day-Lewis is a much better actor than
He's a
Tom
great
Cruise.
actor, but he's not as big a movie star.
Well, yeah. Again, it goes back to what we said earlier. I don't think you give people Oscars for being a movie star. Does that mean Arnold Schwarzenegger deserves it? Sylvester Stallone. Would you give him an Oscar? There's a lot of movie stars out there.
Sylvester Stallone did win an Oscar for Rocky.
I know, but you don't give them an Oscar for being a movie star, in my opinion. This is where we disagree.
No, but that's where I think they're right. I think too often Hollywood actually rewards people which suits their own kind of narrative and agenda, and they forget the impact people have had on the public. I think that
Steven Seagal. Steven Seagal has had some huge blockbuster hits. Would you give Steven Seagal an Oscar?
No.
I think he's a terrible actor.
No, I don't think he's even a great movie star. I don't. But I do think Cruise is in that unique thing of being a genuinely great movie star. Who
I think
even
it's an
now,
interesting conversation. Maybe they need to change their criteria a little bit.
Maybe a best actor and best movie star.
Right.
I just want to talk to you weird Hollywood. Paula, I want to play you a clip. There's a new Wicked movie, Wicked for Good, coming up. Pretty much sums up our panel, I think. Wicked and good in equal measures. And once again, we got the antics of Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo. Let's take a look at what's been going on here. This is something where they went even too weird for themselves. Let's take a look.
Not the time, helicopter?
It's been a pleasure spending time with you. It's been a pleasure getting to know you, and I hope you will be there for the rest of my life.
I hope you'll let my French be one of the things that you're learning how to let in.
That joy he wanted to use in every frame.
It's a bit creepy, isn't it, those two?
I salute them, and I just filled with joy when I watched their friendship unfold like that before us. And yeah, that's what female friendship is all about. They've clearly got each other's backs, and I absolutely salute that.
At the New York premiere,
what's weird about that?
Well, at the New York premiere, Cynthia announced she wouldn't be doing interviews because of a sore throat.
Yes.
Ariana said she would then stop speaking in solidarity. Many are speculating that this may have been a secret edict from the studio for them just to shut up.
Gossiping. When you say speculating, what you mean is gossiping.
I actually won't hear a bad word about Ariana Grande. We shared a night together, and not that kind of night. We shared a night in a restaurant together, unexpectedly in Beverly Hills a few years ago. That went on for hours and hours and hours, and we became bonded friends forever. I've never seen her since, never saw her before, but we had one night in Beverly Hills in a restaurant that was the stuff of legend. So I won't hear a bad word against it, but some of that stuff with Cynthia is a little creepy. Thank you to my panel. Andrew never came back. He got something happened.
I think he dodged me, Piers.
I think it was the whole idea of having to talk about Michelle Obama being a victim when it came to beauty standards. Eventually it wired his brain so much he exploded. So hopefully we'll have an update on Andrew Wilson's health after all this. But thank you all to my remaining panel very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Piers. Appreciate it.
Piers Morgan Uncensored is proudly independent. The only boss around here is me. If you enjoy our show, we ask for only one simple thing. Hit subscribe on YouTube and follow Piers Morgan Uncensored on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And in return, we will continue our mission to inform, irritate and entertain. And we'll do it all for free. Independent, uncensored media has never been more critical, and we couldn't do it without you.